Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Product Development Competition Finalist Presentations and QA. My name is Marissa Stubbs, and I am the current Product Development Competition Chair. I'd like to thank the rest of their committee for their help organizing the 2022 competition, as well as a thank you to our judges. We appreciate you volunteering your time and expertise to the competition. This year's theme was Functional Fiber for Health. The teams had to create a new bakery item that highlighted an innovative fiber source with documented health benefits. The chosen innovative fiber source was used to achieve 6 grams of fiber per serving. Our 3 teams in the finalists are joining from the University of Florida, the University of California, Davis, and California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. Each team will have a booth at Marketplace, so please stop by and ask any additional questions about their products, processes, or simply to introduce yourself. Also join us on Thursday, March 3rd at 2 p.m. for the award ceremony. Lastly, we are searching for additional volunteers for joining the committee, becoming a judge, or company sponsors. So please find myself or Kent Van Amberg if you or your company would be interested in supporting the product development competition. One final thank you to the committee, judges, and ASB. Now let's hear the presentations and listen in on the Q&A sessions for this year's finalists.
Hi, we're Team Upswirls and we're from Cal Poly Pomona. I'm Angel Go, the team leader.
I'm Marisela Robles, I'm in charge of marketing.
And I'm Julia Dettles, and I'm in charge of formulation.
And we're all food science and technology seniors at Cal Poly Pomona. So this year's theme for the product development competition is functional fiber for health. On average, Americans consume 10 to 15 grams of fiber, which makes up roughly half of the daily recommended value. With that in mind, more consumers try to increase their intake with fiber-fortified products or consume more whole grains as it is a common fiber source. Our product, Upswirls, utilizes 2 innovative fiber sources to provide an excellent source of fiber in just 1 serving.
So what are Upswirls? Upswirls are a mini sweet guava and nopales jam-filled roll that are topped with a guava drizzle. They can be enjoyed for breakfast or even as a snack. We notice that there's an increase in consumers wanting to explore more international flavors and have environmentally friendly products. So, Upswirls highlights international ingredients of nopales and guava, as well as an upcycled ingredient of okara flour. They are great for those looking for an excellent source of dietary fiber and vitamin C. Just 1 serving of Upswirls has 21% of your daily value in dietary fiber and 45% of your daily value in vitamin C.
So how do we get 6 grams of fiber in Upswirls? Our 2 innovative fiber ingredients are nopales powder and okara flour. Nopales powder is made from the pads of prickly pear cacti that are native to Mexico. They are sustainable ingredients since they are drought tolerant and have been found to help diabetes and regulate cholesterol levels. Okara flour is made from the waste of soy milk production, which in Singapore makes up about 10,000 tons of waste every year. Guava is our main flavor in our jam that provides our vitamin C content and has also been found to help regulate blood pressure. With these ingredients, we were able to achieve a baked product that is tasty, high in fiber, and is beneficial to your health. The nopales powder can be found both in the bread and the jam, while the okara flour can be found in the bread.
Upswirls has a serving size of 55 grams, which consists of 2 mini rolls, but it is intended to sell in boxes with 6 servings. Other important ingredients to note besides the ones stated before are the bread flour and xanthan gum, which help with gluten development and texture since okara flour is gluten-free. We use calcium propionate as a preservative in both the jam and the bread since it does not affect the yeast in our dough and it inhibits the growth of any spoilage bacteria or molds. We use low methoxyl pectin in order to thicken our jam and have it be able to spread on the dough.
Here's our process flow chart. There are two main lines to make upswirls. The dough is in orange, the jam is in teal, as well as a minor line of the guava drizzle in pink. The dough is done through a typical bread process. There's a first proof step in the beginning while the jam is mixed, heated, and cooled. The dough is then thinly rolled after the first proof and the jam is spread. Rolls are then formed and cut for the second proof prior to baking. Once the main rolls are cooled after baking, they are topped with our guava drizzle. During production, our facility will safely produce upswirls by ensuring we implement GMPs, SSOPs in accordance with 21 CFR 110 and implementing a HACCP system in accordance to 21 CFR 120 with 4 critical control points of receiving and inspecting ingredients, especially for those used in the drizzle, since there is no kill step. Baking, metal detection, and packaging are the other 3 critical control points.
Each serving of upswirls will be bagged in polypropylene with modified atmosphere, which will be a mixture of carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas, in order to ensure the quality and safety of upswirls. The individual packaging ensures that each serving will not be compromised, so our consumers can taste the best quality. The picture posted is a mock-up of our proposed secondary packaging, which will be made up of recyclable paperboard, which will contain 6 servings for a total of 12 rolls.
There's nothing like upswirls, especially with the combination of unique ingredients. Here are some comparable products like mini cinnamon rolls, vegan mini muffins, and fig bars. With similar serving sizes, they do not stand up to the nutritional value of upswirls. In our sensory analysis, many panelists expressed their interest in having a product with high fiber but lower sugar content. Upswirls are an excellent source of fiber. They are half the calories and lower in total sugars compared to the other 3 products. With that in consideration, we priced our box of upswirls at $5.25.
Almost the entire US population consumes bread. 190 million people that make up 58% of the consumers eat whole wheat or multigrain breads, which are often high in fiber. We'd ideally start sales in California, which has 13 million households, and with an initial target market of 1% of the Californians that we can assume buy high fiber products, it would be 75,400 consumers. And with 1 box per month per consumer, we would need to distribute more than 75,000 boxes per month. With capital costs of equipment and facilities on the low end, which would roughly total $135,000, we can predict profit will come in within the first few months.
Upswirls are a breakfast item, but they can also be considered as a dessert due to the sweet filling. We can see through this graph that Gen Z and millennials want more new innovation with both breakfast foods and desserts, which makes them the ideal target market for upswirls. With a sensory test, upswirls had a great overall liking of 7.44 on a 9-point hedonic scale. Our sensory demographics were within the age group of our target consumers of Gen Z and millennials. Our box of upswirls would be suggested to be sold for $5.25. They would be sold at easily accessible grocery stores like Target and Walmart. We would love to share upswirls through social media to accommodate our Gen Z and millennial target group. Social media allows for easy access to analytical data.
Line extensions will provide growth opportunities for upswirls. Keeping with emphasizing international ingredients, there are endless options to explore. We can have jam fillings made with ube or taro, which are native to Southeast Asia and will add a slightly nutty and vanilla flavor. We could even add persimmons, which are native to China, and they will provide a honey-like flavor. And also mangoes, which are native to India and will add a tropical citrus flavor to the upswirls filling. We hope to see a fiber-rich product such as upswirls on the shelves soon. We think this is an untapped market. Thank you for listening, and we want to thank our school, Cal Poly Pomona, and the following for all their support.
So what are the functional properties of the nopales and okara flowers that you're seeing in your application?
So I can go ahead and talk about the nopales, or the cactus, might be easier to say. Cactus is high in antioxidants. We found through some research that it helps regulate blood sugar levels, so it's good for diabetics. It's overall kind of what they call like a superfood, for marketing purposes. And if somebody wants to touch on the okara.
So yeah, both the nopales and the okara are for the fiber source. I think like in our initial idea, we really wanted to use the nopales in some sort of way, and we found that nopales powder just jam-packed with fiber. And then along with that, we remembered that we used, I think we were sponsored a long time ago by Renewal Mills, and we remembered that okara flower is also high in fiber, so we thought it would be great to use.
Were there any functional in terms of outside of the health benefits, water holding or emulsifying, or any of that type of functionality? Did you observe any of that with those fibers, or were they mainly hard to work with, where you had to get it in there? But
the second one.
Okay. So
Yeah.
So what kinds of things were you seeing when you added the fiber?
It became very dry. Our dough became very dry and crumbly. And so when we would roll it out, it wouldn't stay in its form. So I believe I forgot what we did. We added more.
We added more bread flour to okara ratio because we did want to jam pack it with the okara, especially just because it's like such a cool ingredient. But we had to lower it to increase the bread protein, and then we ended up adding xanthan gum to bring it together more, which helped a lot with rising. And then with the nopales powder, we did use a lot of the nopales powder, so that did make it dry, which is the reason why we went with a jam to offset the dryness of the bread. And then
To go further along with the jam, the nopales powder did make it a little bit more, it did absorb most of like the water content in the jam, but luckily we were able to mix it up with the other ingredients inside the jam to make it work with it. So for me personally, for us personally, the jam didn't have that much of a trouble as it did with the bread.
How do those ingredients taste on their own, like the okara flour? I was just wondering if some of these taste kind of bitter or by themselves.
I think the nopales tastes and smells like matcha. That's what we observed a lot whenever we would like use it.
It kind of has a mild flavor, I would say. It didn't like totally like overpower any of our flavors that we added.
It's definitely different. Nothing I've tried before. And then some people that would try are just the bread itself. Like they'd be like, "What is that?" They don't know. Like, yeah, it's a new thing that they're trying. And then I don't think I tried the okara just by itself. But did you guys try it?
No.
Yeah.
I don't
No, but I don't think it like changed the flavor of the bread as much as the cactus did. I will say. Yeah.
Did that answer your question? Yeah.
So I had a question about the product shelf life. So was there any reason why you picked calcium propionate, or did you try others before you settled in on that one?
Yeah, so calcium propionate, that one actually mixed well with the yeast in the bread. We did try ascorbic acid and it gave us like a weird like bitter taste. So then we tried the calcium propionate for that reason.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
it
then
didn't-
go ahead, Julia.
It didn't affect the yeast rise in our bread, which was really important to us. And we were able to use it in both the bread part and the jam part, which is cost effective as well for our product.
Were you going to say something else?
No, she
No? Okay.
she touched on,
Okay.
on everything.
So when I received the samples, unfortunately, the drizzle did not hold up super well in distribution. So what are your ideas on how you could alter the formula of the drizzle to help it be more stable in shipping?
So the icing drizzle was developed probably the last thing in formulation wise. We initially it was just, powdered sugar and guava, and we noticed that it didn't held up at all over time. So we added the meringue powder to hopefully help with stability, but yeah, it still probably needs some more work on it, but I would say we could add, I think I noticed in other icings, like agar-agar or carrageenan to make it the mixture more homogeneous and gel on the bread better.
Yeah, so when we, like she said, we were doing it in the later stage because we did find that once we used the guava jam, it still wasn't to the liking of our participants. So we ended up just doing a slight guava drizzle. So we could probably just use just a regular royal icing that usually does harden up, but we did want to make sure that we kept with the guava flavor. So we ended up substituting the water in the royal icing with our guava pulp, which was probably the reason why it still didn't hold up.
I wanted to make sure Brittany had a chance to ask a question before I go in again.
You're good. You can go ahead.
Okay. I guess it's probably an overall question that we always like to ask is what other challenges did you encounter in producing product or exciting the other parts of it, like marketing and going to market? What are some challenges that you encountered and how did you overcome those?
So I can go first. So the first hesitation that we had was actually using real cactus for the fiber. We actually used blended it and did everything for the jam, and the taste wasn't good at all. Like it wasn't the best, but it wasn't as sweet. And we kept increasing sugar in it, which ended up lowering the fiber content. So then literally last minute, we ended up changing it to guava flavor because guava naturally is a lot sweeter. And so we ended up overcoming that situation with the guava. And then we ended up enhancing it a little bit more with other like flavors such as the beet powder for the color. And then it ended up helping us with the content. So that was a big issue that we ended up changing very last minute, and thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, so another challenge, I think we already touched up on it, was that it didn't hold up very well with so much of because we used so much of the nopales and the okara, that we ended up having to use like a bit more butter than we thought we would, which is why our product isn't a low fat product, but that's okay because bread products shouldn't be low fat. And then at the same time, we did work on forming it as a babka in the beginning process, which was a mess. So we ended up turning it into a roll, and then even then with the roll, we ended up having to buy our own like rolling pin just for evenness because we didn't have like a sheeter or anything like that. So uniformity throughout the whole process, especially when you're rolling it, because the jam just gets to move everywhere it wants to. And then like sometimes when you're rolling too much, it's not tight enough of a roll. So uniformity was an issue. Julia, do you have anything else?
Of course, fiber was hard to reach, our fiber goal. So like we said, we kept increasing. And so by adding the cactus powder in both the bread and the jam, increased our fiber. Yeah, that's about what I can think of right now.
Oh, and the drizzle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the marketing section, you had mentioned that the capital cost would come to about $135,000. How did you get to that number? What did that include?
So I just added up a bunch of like the possible equipments, the big ones too that had the high capacity and like high power, especially because since if we were to go on a bigger scale, our dough would probably be pretty hard to work with. So I just added up like the sheeter, the proofer, just big ticket items that we would most likely end up using on a big scale. And then that plus just an estimate on like facility price. Equipment's pretty expensive. I didn't think of it too. Just in general, even like just sheets, just pans of sheets. I was like, wow.
You know how much throughput or production you would have gotten with the equipment that you outlined, or what size were you targeting for your growth maybe?
So when I was doing like calculations, we would have to make like, let me see, about, where is it?
I think you initially
we would have to make
targeted
like
California only, I think is what
so
yeah.
It was based on the numbers for the California population and the 1% target. And then with those numbers, I believe it was supposed to be like something per month, I think 75,000 per month. So then per hour, we would have to make 3,900 buns. And from there, I just kept calculating and calculating and calculating. But I think the bigger sizes that I was looking at would hold about, I think 110 pounds per unit or per every time you would make the dough. But I wasn't able to calculate an exact amount of like how many buns we'd be able to make.
Fun. I was just curious. Thank you.
That would have been extra credit, so.
Hello, and thank you for having us. We're Team Purple Penguins, and we represent the University of California, Davis for this year's ASB Product Development Competition. Our team is a group of third-year food science majors, and we are very excited to present our product to you today. So the first thing you're probably asking is, what is our product? Purple Penguins are purple, triple-layered, penguin-shaped cookie bars marketed towards parents and their children alike. Our product is gluten-free, vegan, plant-based, and utilizes an upcycled ingredient. We decided to use grape pomace meal, or upcycled ingredients, to contribute fiber, as well as purple sweet potato powder, which also adds in the vibrant purple color of our cookie bars. We intend to package our product in a fun box to cater towards kids and parents in the supermarkets, and to include several fun animal facts to give it an educational factor. The bars themselves would be individually packaged, making them perfect for a quick snack or to throw into a lunchbox. We conducted a set of consumer surveys at our local farmers market and obtained a total of 34 responses. We asked them to describe our products. They said it was sweet, crunchy, and had warm gingerbread-like flavors. Overall, they thought our product was delicious. We also asked parents to report what they prioritize when picking food items for their children. They said that taste and health were the top priority, and then other things such as sustainability were also important to them.
In order for Purple Penguins to be a successful product in the marketplace, it was critical that we identified our target consumer in order to appeal to what these consumers value most in a product. When looking at the consumer landscape in 2022, vegan and plant-based foods are becoming more highly sought after amongst the younger generation. In addition, there has been a growing demand for companies to become more conscious about sustainability. This has led our team to determine that young families would ultimately be the demographic that would be most interested in what our product has to offer, as a novel way for parents to introduce more fiber in addition to other health benefits into the diet of their children, while still having appeal amongst adults. We would ultimately utilize social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as a mechanism to advertise our product, as these platforms now offer the most effective way to reach our target demographic. In comparison to other sandwich cookies on the market, Purple Penguins provides a level of health benefits through their fiber, phenolics, anthocyanins, and prebiotic oligosaccharides that cookies such as Milano's simply do not have. They also offer a level of interactivity with their unique packaging and, through their use of an upcycled ingredient, appeal to a level of sustainability that is not obviously seen in these other products. However, as a concern with many healthier alternatives, ensuring that taste does not come as a sacrifice to health benefits is vital. In the liking scores of our product among consumers tested, we were still able to maintain a high level of consumer satisfaction when it comes to the taste of our cookie. The average liking scores were above 7.5 on a 9-point scale among both kids and parents. This is achieved by having a product that possesses a unique yet familiar taste, with many consumers relating the taste to that of Mother Circus animal cookies. Our highly centralized grouping of data in this chart suggests that Purple Penguins provides a wide appeal even amongst the wide range of palates surveyed. For children, the cookie provides a new visually stimulating product that deviates from the norm of previously established snacks such as Oreos and Milano's, and their unique shape and interactivity with the packaging provides a unique opportunity to educate on both nutritional health and wildlife.
Along with online research on current and upcoming marketing trends, we also surveyed consumers at local farmers markets to see what they valued in a product. Their values on sustainability, health, and taste seem to align with a lot of the trends we found online. In recent years, it has been made known to the public that food waste is a big problem that needs to be addressed. Our product provides a solution for that through upcycling. Purple Penguins are also plant-based, which is another sustainability-related trend in the food industry right now. Healthy foods have been a trend in the food industry for a while now. However, in the past few years, there has been a rise in popularity in products related to gut health and natural colors and flavors. These health benefits are found in the ingredients used to formulate Purple Penguins and will be described further in detail in the next section.
So after looking at the results from our sensory tests, as well as the current food trends, it was pretty clear that sustainability was a focal point for our product. And to push this idea forward, we used crepe hummus, which is upcycled, because instead of ending up as waste, we wanted to put value back into it by using it as a functional ingredient in Purple Penguins. And since we are reusing this byproduct, our net production of waste decreases and alleviates the environmental impact of making Purple Penguins in the first place. We wanted to make sure that Purple Penguins were also plant-based, and this has its own proven environmental benefits. And in addition to understanding sustainability as this environmental aspect, we wanted to consider sustainability in the idea of relevance and how consistent and how relevant can Purple Penguins stay in our consumers' minds. And this is where finding our niche, finding our place in the market was really important as this high fiber cookie bar for kids with 2 novel ingredients. The first novel ingredient is what we're calling our first fiber source, and that is the grape pumice. It has 88.7% dietary fiber per dry weight. And since health was a key aspect that our consumers also pointed towards for products that they would buy for their kids, we wanted the health benefits to be more than just fiber. And as we can see in this table, since we are using both the peel and the seed, we can see that there are a lot of phytochemicals that we can speak to, namely the phenolics, which have antioxidant and antimicrobial activity. There are also oligosaccharides with prebiotic activity and anthocyanins, which go along with our second novel ingredient, which is purple sweet potato powder. It's our second fiber source because it has 25% dietary fiber per dry weight. It itself also has polyphenols, which enhance the fermentability of that fiber. The vibrant purple color, which is what we used as our natural food coloring, is from the anthocyanin pigment, and the tuber itself also has polysaccharides. And both of these have proven health benefits, namely the antioxidant, the anti-tumor, and the anti-inflammatory activity. These two novel ingredients, the grape pumice and the purple sweet potato powder, really make our product, Purple Penguins, unique, make them nutritious, and also makes them relevant for our target consumer.
In addition to our key fiber ingredients, we also wanted to formulate Purple Penguins with a multitude of high-fiber gluten-free flours. We settled on a mixture of oat flour, almond flour, and brown rice flour to achieve the desired texture of the cookie and hydration of the dough. Liquid sweeteners were also used to bind and create a workable dough and add an additional depth of flavor. Lastly, cinnamon and salt were used to enhance the flavors of the toasty warm pumice. So, why Purple Penguins? Purple Penguins have been highly rated on taste, so they have been proven to be delicious. They utilize an upcycled fiber source and plant-based ingredients to create a more sustainable product. And lastly, Purple Penguins contain numerous nutritious ingredients that contain fiber, anthocyanins, and prebiotic oligosaccharides. We wholeheartedly believe that these factors will make Purple Penguins a successful product. Thank you.
So my question was about the grape pumice. So since that already provides that toasty flavor, toasty notes, I was wondering your reasons why to also use other flours like oat, brown rice, and almond that also bring even more toasty flavors. So I was wondering just kind of your decision-making process of all of those toasty notes.
I guess I can answer this question. I think the reason we really chose to use the other flours was less about the flavor and more about the texture, since the pumice just by itself really has somewhat of a mealy texture. To sort of combat that, we try to incorporate other flours to have like a much more pleasant mouthfeel when we eat the cookie.
Does anyone else have any comments on that one?
Yeah, I could say a little bit about how I feel like it contributed to the toasty flavor, since that was more like what you're mentioning. We do feel that it did manage to, although like more coincidentally than anything, it did actually contribute. And like, in our sensory tests, there was a lot of comments that they liked the toasty flavors, and they often compared it to a graham cracker, so they actually quite enjoyed it. So it did kind of come out beneficial on our end. Mm-hmm.
Great.
So my question.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I jumped the gun there. I was just going to say I actually had a very similar question. I just wanted to add on to this one. Did you evaluate any other gluten-free flours?
I believe we just started with like oat flour and brown rice flour, but like we started out just like blending up, but then we switched to like oat flour just for a more like consistent, and like also just to like take out a step in like processing. But other than that, because we were pretty satisfied with how the texture was with the oat flour and the brown rice flour and almond flour, we decided to just stick with it because it worked.
Are there any other similar questions to the formulation? Because mine was just going to be, what was the greatest challenge you had during the whole process?
I think one of the greatest challenges for us was just the texture of the whole thing. So like starting off with just the biscuit itself, just incorporating the pumice, like we had to think about like the particle size of which we like could grind the pumice to, and like also just like the grittiness and like kind of the dryness of the pumice and how to combat that. And then like once we finished with that, we kind of had to think about like, oh, how do we keep the biscuit crispy with like the filling, and like how all of this like comes together, because there are like, you know, 3 different components to our product. So like texture was probably the biggest challenge that we had to tackle.
I guess I'll add on to that a little bit. Like we'd had a lot of other things, like not just the flours that were messed around with. We experimented with a couple of different fats as well to see like if we could manipulate, say, have a better like appearing fat in terms of our nutrition label, but still have the same effects. And we went through a few different of those. We did shortenings. I think that's what we ended upon. We tried out stuff with coconut oil, and that had varying results. And we even tried it both in a liquid and its solid form. And then we also manipulated a little bit with our different sweeteners. We ended up going with a liquid-based sweetener. We did agave because we found that the little bit of water it added before baking allowed for a better like dough to work with when we were formulating the actual biscuits.
I guess another question on ingredients. With the vegetable shortening that you use, it has fully hydrogenated oils and also TBHQ. So unfortunately, those are on this no-no list for like whole foods. And it seems like that is something where you could end up going into that you mentioned Whole Foods. So I was wondering if you had alternative oils. I guess you mentioned coconut oil, but then there were some challenges too. So I was wondering if you would think of other alternatives to the vegetable shortening, so then you could sell it at Whole Foods.
I think one thing we were
dabbled.
Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
We dabbled with cocoa butter a little bit, as it was also a solid fat, and it had the texture that was a little bit more appealing compared to coconut oil. But then we also were considering price as well as flavor. So shortening was like to go for that.
And adding on to that, a lot of it kind of depends on like what a consumer values between like, oh, would they rather it have like be a full whole food without the shortening, and like let's just say like we replace it with coconut oil, but then like health wise on like a nutrition label, if we opt for coconut oil, there's like a much higher saturated fat. So it's like, do they value like the health aspect, or do they value like keeping it like a whole food? And like through our like, we did a little bit of consumer research where like they kind of told us what things they value, and health was like pretty high up there. So we thought like, oh, maybe it's better just to like have less saturated fat show up rather than opt for like the whole food.
So you identified grape pomace and sweet potato flour as your fiber or ingredients with fiber of choice. Are there any functional properties in application that you noted or that you benefited from, or was it more of the health benefits that you were concentrated on for these products?
We focused more on the health benefits of the two. They had some pretty
problems. The Wi-Fi went down on her street, so she keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. So just to explain that.
Sorry. But it did provide a little bit of texture, like the pumice was a major dry ingredient for the biscuit. And then the purple sweet potato powder added color. So besides that, it was mostly the health benefits.
I would add there's also the sustainability benefit, obviously, because it's using an upcycled ingredients, and so otherwise would be a food waste product. And so we also like prioritized that as well. We wanted it to be something that was not just a good for you product, but also something that was good for the environment to some degree.
Then I guess another property like in the pumice is like the flavor that it gives off, like the kind of warm and toasty flavors that we like wanted to highlight in our cookie as well.
My question kind of goes with those ingredients too. I was kind of wondering how you heard of those, because I had a friend that had a master's project on the purple sweet potato. And also I was thinking maybe from where your school is at, the grape pumice, maybe it's something that some students were working on anyways. So I was just curious on the history of how you heard about it.
I think it's actually kind of like a cute story in my opinion, but like when we first kind of decided to do this competition, it started off with just Katie and I, and we were just talking. We thought it was the prompt from last year, so we were focusing on like using a waste ingredient. And so we were talking like, oh, what like waste ingredient do we have really easy access to? And so we kind of settled on grape pumice, and then we went from there. And then as our group grew a little bigger, Melissa like just has done a lot of things with purple sweet potato. And so she was very knowledgeable about that stuff. And also we just thought like, oh, like the grapes are purple, the sweet potatoes purple, maybe we can like do something here. And it kind of just evolved into purple penguins.
I love that. I really did enjoy the purple aspect of it. I was like, this is so cute. So that actually leads to two questions. More technical, did you evaluate or over shelf life any color changes, or did you observe any color changes of the product? Did the product brown at all over shelf life, or did it stay at more vibrant purple color?
So we left like one of the penguins out in like a Ziploc bag for a pretty long time. Maybe like around 2 months, I think. And then the color pretty much looked the same. I think it was just kind of like I hit it a couple times, so it was just a little deformed. But other than that, it was still like that kind of purple that you guys can see in the picture. It's like a lavender-ish color.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I have one of the earliest prototypes still in my apartment. And when you look at it, it still pretty much looks exactly the same as day one.
Then the other part of this question is how and why did you decide to market this to kids?
So we thought about how like, especially like nowadays with a lot of more like highly processed foods and like a shift kind of away from whole grains in terms of taste, like kids don't have as much fiber in their diets. And we thought like, oh, what would be like a good way to convince kids to have more fiber? And so like, oh, if it's like a cute penguin, if it's like purple, and it like reminds them of like, you know, a snack food that they really enjoy. We kind of, you know, like took some inspiration from various sandwich cookies or like layered biscuits. And so like if a kid sees that and like cute packaging, like they'll be more excited to eat fiber. And obviously like our product helps eliminate food waste. So we thought we could market it that way.
Yes, I'll go ahead then. So my question was on with the long-term shelf life packaging. I guess unfortunately some of like the frosting or the coating kind of came off a little bit, or I was just wondering what are some ideas if you could go more into on packaging?
I believe like we thought about doing some sort of so like clear like bag, and then like kind of like a granola bar, like the kind bars, if you guys know those. But then like instead of just being the bag, we'd have like a little paper kind of a box sleeve. They're called sleeves.
It's like a U-board.
Yes, a U-board. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and so that would kind of like help to keep it not so like have the coating come off. Yeah.
Thank you. We're at the time or not.
I do have speaking of the coating, do you know, and did you specifically decide on a specific melt point of the coating? And how did you come up with that if you did?
We had actually gone to one of our advisors to source the coating because we had trouble finding an ideal coating for this, and we mostly followed the manufacturer's recommendations in terms of that. It was, I guess, it's a relatively new prototype and not even out in the market yet. What we used, so it was a little bit of trial and error with working on it, and it could still probably use some improvements in terms of finding just the ideal temperature. But in the meantime, what we used kind of mostly what was recommended from the product.
Greetings ASB. This is Team Hello Cakes from University of Florida, Gainesville. I am Devanshu Mehta, leading the team from University of Florida, and here are my colleagues without whom this wouldn't have been possible.
I'm Taylor, and I'm the team researcher.
My name is Sharon Passaretti, and I'm the research chef for Team Hello Cakes.
Hi, my name is Skylar Moreno, and I'm the team designer.
And now presenting to you our winning product, Hello Cakes.
The vision of Hello Cakes began with the idea of creating a product that would provide a better-for-you snack cake using novel ingredients, shapes, and flavors. The mini bundt cake shape was inspired by the Kugelhof pan, providing a distinct shape and the opportunity to showcase the horchata cream center. Horchata has a smooth, creamy cinnamon flavor with just a hint of rum. This flavor profile pairs with the vanilla and rum accents in the cake and icing for a delicious yet unique Hello Cake that could easily be enjoyed with your favorite beverage. 3 functional fibers were selected and incorporated into all the sub-recipes for the Hello Cake based on novelty and the associated health benefits, which Taylor will discuss soon. Each component of the Hello Cake was optimized based on the applications of the fibers, especially for the filling where the citrus fiber led to fat reduction, increased moisture retention, and maintained the product quality. Recipes with supplemented fiber can easily be used for other products that are currently in operations, offering a potential to increase nutrient density and expand current product lines. So we would like to introduce you to our Hello Cakes, our high fiber, low sodium, vanilla and rum flavored mini bundt cake whose hollow is filled with horchata flavored cream with a lattice of fiber infused rum flavored icing.
Thanks, Sharon, for that great description. Along with great taste and textures, Hello Cakes were made with functional fibers, which are isolated and indigestible fibers associated with health benefits. The 3 functional fibers selected for these cakes were oat hull fiber, pea hull fiber, and citrus fiber. Oat and pea hull fibers constitute 3.4 and 2.5% of the total Hello Cakes weight, respectively. These have been shown to combat metabolic diseases, and pea hull fiber has been associated with the lowered risk of cardiovascular diseases. Citrus fiber, at 1% of Hello Cakes weight, introduces antioxidant compounds found in citrus pulp and peels. Beyond the health benefits of these novel functional fibers, the oat hull fiber and citrus fiber were used as emulsifiers for the filling and icing, and all 3 played a role in the cake's moisture retention, delivering a moist and smooth texture even after a 14-day shelf life.
Thank you, Taylor. These functional fibers play right into our strengths, with Hello Cakes containing 21% of your daily recommended fiber, 5% of your daily value of sodium, and a nice blend of Latin flavors. Our team's market study analysis shows that snack cakes appeal to 42% of the American population, making Hello Cakes appeal to 138 million Americans. With 80% of the population of Americans perceiving fiber as healthy, we aim to appeal to this driving force within the consumer market. Furthermore, 55% of Americans consider fiber when purchasing foods, making Hello Cakes an optimal product in today's market. With these preferences in mind, our team determined that the target market includes the age range of 18 to 81, allowing Hello Cakes to attract everyone. With 55% of Americans considering high fiber when purchasing an item, our team has calculated that the potential USA Hello Cakes market will be 56.4 million consumers. With our intended launch location being the state of Florida, Hello Cakes' potential consumer base is projected to be 8.5 million people. To further expand this consumer base, Hello Cakes would continue towards the trendy, health-conscious consumer by creating different flavor line extensions, reducing the total calorie content and fortifying our cakes with vitamins and minerals necessary to the diet.
Thank you, Skylar. Now that we know what the target market is, let's talk about how the Hello Cakes were successfully produced in a small kitchen setting. The cake batter was produced using the creaming method with standard baking ingredients such as butter, sugar, eggs, milk, flour, leavening, and flavoring. The batter was scaled into 35-gram portions and baked until the internal temperature was 100 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes to ensure a microbial kill step and achieve the water activity of 0.85 for a minimum shelf life of 14 days. For the Holland cream, sugar and water were boiled and cooled to room temperature. Citrus fiber, flavoring, and fats were added and whipped to make a slurry. Then powdered sugar and oat hull fiber were combined before being added to the slurry, and the mixture was whipped until a light, fluffy filling was achieved. The icing was simply powdered sugar and fiber sifted together. Hot water was added and mixed until homogeneous. Cultured dextrose and rosemary extract were added to all three components to prevent the growth of spoilage microorganisms. The cakes were removed from the pans, the filling was piped into the center of the cake, and the icing was piped in a lattice pattern across the top. Two more critical control points were identified at this point. The first was the packaging label to ensure allergen information was correct. The second is the metal detection of the final product to ensure there is no detectable metal debris from the processing line. While the method presented is based on a small-scale operation, it can easily be transitioned to an industrial-scale model.
The organoleptic attributes of the Hello Cakes produced as mentioned by Shireen were assessed by 14 panelists. The overall liking based on texture, flavor, and appearance was rated high by the panelists. The sweetness and the flavor profiles were very close to just about right on a just about right scale. A score of 3.9 out of 5 for purchase intent clearly showed that the panelists would likely buy this product when available in stores. These scores showed a high acceptability and liking of the Hello Cakes by the consumers.
Thanks, Dev, for that update on the sensory analysis. Now that we know that panelists really liked our product, let's talk about how Hello Cakes could make a profit. Based on the cost of materials, co-packers, distributors, and retailers, the cost of one Hello Cakes package will be 75 cents. With the target markets previously described by Skylar, the target sales and profits were projected. With a 2.5% market share, the initial Florida market is estimated at 213,000 consumers. If each consumer purchased 2 packages per month, Hello Cakes would achieve a monthly sales volume of 427,000 packages. That equates to $3.8 million in annual revenue and $512,000 in profit per year. With that success, Hello Cakes could move to a national market in which it would have an estimated $3.4 million in profit. Let's see how Hello Cake stands in the current market. 3 of the most common snack cake brands are Hostess, Little Debbie, and Tasty Cake. The Hostess Baby Buns product line was projected as Hello Cake's major competitor. In terms of pricing, Hello Cakes is similar to the average of these 3 prices, which was 73 cents. Additionally, Hello Cakes has the lowest calorie density in calories per 100 gram weight. Other benefits include higher fiber content comprised of novel functional fibers. All of these factors highlight the promise of Hello Cakes being a delicious alternative in this well-established snack cake category.
Hello Cake's marketing strategy includes a conglomerate of opportunities. The back of the package contains a QR code to highlight the benefits of the fibers used. When launched, Hello Cakes will be available at local groceries and wholesale stores, such as Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. Our long-term marketing goals for Hello Cakes includes partnering with Starbucks to provide a fiber-based alternative treat. The use of social media platforms would serve as an additional strategy to launch and advertise Hello Cakes. Posts, advertisements, and promotional discounts will focus on the gut health benefits and cultural flavor fusion, ensuring that consumers define Hello Cakes as a tasty and rich in fiber product. Line extensions would be included to further highlight trendy flavors to increase the brand's presence and diversify the consumer base, giving Hello Cakes remarkable visibility across North America.
Thank you everyone for joining us on this journey. And now we announce the official launch of our Hello Cakes, Sweet Fusion Delicious Alternatives.
In your presentation, you mentioned the preservatives that you chose, which were the cultured dextrose and rosemary extract. Why were those a good fit for your product? Did you evaluate any others?
I can take that question. So the first thing what we had to look at was the water activity, and if you saw, water activity was around 0.83. So our biggest concern was mold growth in there, so we had to look at anti-mold or antifungal agents. And looking at how people are perceiving preservative these days, we want to go to something which was more natural. And I looked at a lot of other variabilities, and rosemary extract is one of the most common natural preservative which is used currently. And the recent trend was using cultured dextrose. Like companies like Impossible Foods, they have been using cultured dextrose as an antimicrobial agent in their product as well. So when I reached out to certain, companies like Kelsec, they introduced me to some of these. And then based on their assessment and the literature they had, we chose specifically these two compounds to use as an antimicrobial or antifungal agent.
Great. That was actually my first question too. So we are right on the same page here. But otherwise, I was looking at your process description, and you listed 2 different types of sugar in the cake, a powdered sugar and just a granulated sugar. But then in the ingredients list, you just had normal sugar. So I was wondering if you used 2 different types and why, or if you could clarify that.
I'll take that question there for you. We actually do use powdered sugar and granulated sugar in the cake. And it did create a finer texture to it. And I just find it's overall improves on the quality of the product when it comes to the end. But yes, there was powdered sugar and granulated sugar in the cake, and then just powdered sugar into the filling and the ice.
Cool. Good, thanks. If Brittany wants to ask a question, it seems like if we want to ask one at a time, we'll go in a circle.
My question was going to be, what was the most challenging part within your formulation as you're working through it? What kind of challenges did you come up against, and how did you kind of work through them?
I can start, and then everyone can just pitch in this, because we had a lot of challenges. And the first one was choosing the right fiber source, because the challenge this year was functional fiber. A lot of times people used to use functional fiber and dietary fiber synonymously. So we had to list down a lot of ingredients in our brainstorming sessions, and we had 8 probable lists which we could use. But then based on the availability, cost, and the associated health benefits, we came down to using pea hull, oat hull, and citrus fibers. But when we made our first prototype, we just had like a cylinder cake. It wasn't even bun shaped. We had a cylinder cake, and just like how hostess, pipes it into their cakes, we did the same thing by piping our cream into it. But when we did our initial sensory panel, it just didn't look appealing. Like, panelists did not find it as appealing, and they had that graininess, and they couldn't feel the cream in it at all. And that's when we had to do an internal brainstorming and a risk assessment to assess, what is the right way we can approach this product. And that's how we came to the bun shape, which was unique. And we had to play with the formulations, which maybe either Taylor, Scott, or Shireen can pitch into as well.
Okay, I can pick up in on to that. When we did our initial formulation, we had used strictly the pea fiber. And when I went to put it into the ESHA to generate the labels, I realized, okay, I really have to increase the amount of fiber. And I went to put that just into the cake would have been extremely challenging. So I decided to spread it across. So that's when I put the decision forth to put it into the cake, put it into the filling, put it into the icing, and just bring it across and create that really wonderful product. And then I looked at the pea hull fiber, and but this is really going to darken the color down if I use all of it. And I said, we also have the oat hull fiber. And I said, well, we can actually increase the functionality by incorporating more than one fiber. And that's when I went, well, let's do the oat hull and the pea hull fiber. And then for additional emulsification properties, I can use the citrus fiber as well. And I put in the formulations and I said, let's see if this works. And it came out really, really nice. It was like, oh, this is just like perfect. And then we put in for the filling. When we adjusted for the filling, we found that we could actually use the citrus fiber to reduce the amount of oil, which was perfect. And it actually reduced the kcal of our product. But the filling came out so nice, we decided to showcase it as well. And that's when the bundt cake idea kind of went into it. It just went, we can show this off, just like the cream horns and everything that, is commonly used for that. So it was truly exciting when we got the second prototype together.
And just to quickly add on to what Sharon was talking about with the bundt cake shape, another challenge that we had was even when we had the bundt cake shape, we wanted to add the filling into the actual cake itself. And we were still having some cracking issues and things like that. And so we had to go back to another brainstorming session, and we decided to put the filling into the actual center of the bundt cake. And that was also a really great decision because we got to showcase our horchata filling right in the center, and that beautiful icing glaze on top too.
Thank you. I really appreciate each of you chiming in. That's great. Thanks.
All right, I have so many questions. I'm trying to decide which to go with next. So you mentioned that citrus and fiber improves the appearance. What is meant by that, and in what way?
So with the citrus fiber and the oat hull fiber, they're actually really good emulsifiers. And that kind of held everything together, especially in our icing when we had the glaze. So there wasn't any breakage in it, and we got a nice shiny sheen over the top.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, in your second table under threats, you mentioned limited consumer knowledge on fiber impact. And so I was wondering, what are some of your ideas to help increase consumer knowledge on fiber impact?
Yeah, so I can take that question. So within our threats, we decided that within our product, in order to appeal and educate as much of the consumer bases as possible without having extremely filled document on the back of our package, we had a short story told in order to highlight those fibers of interest. And then we decided to add a QR code to the back of our package, which actually brings you to a document that further educates all the amazing health benefits of the fibers that we chose to use within our product. And so we're hoping that in order to use technology within our favor, we would be able to further educate the consumer on all of the amazing qualities and health benefits of our product.
Yeah, I had a similar question about the educating on oat fiber, so I'm glad you touched on that. And I thought the QR code was a really savvy way of leveraging the technology. The packaging was really well done and really well laid out. In the product packaging design, were there any other prototypes or considerations that you had considered, or was this kind of like your first and a winner right from the start?
Yeah, so within the product design, it wound up being a large transformation over the course of multiple weeks. I went through multiple different designs, and I created about 8 different designs that we did an internal evaluation of. And then I decided to make a survey and post it to the public in order for them to, on our university campus, for other people to also basically tell us their input on the design for our logo. And there was a very short description provided describing what our product was, that it was a bundt shaped mini cake.
And most of the people decided that they liked the shape of our logo because of the fact that it represents the bundt shaped cake of our product. And then we went through different varieties of blue hues because different hues were too dark and then not light enough. And then the ribbon coming in and out, that was actually an additional thing that we decided to do that added elegance and a sort of class, and almost like a shelf stable, or more like brand staple type product, because it wraps around the entire package and it almost gives that sense of like, oh, we're blue ribbon, we're first class, like this is what you would want to pick if you had to pick any product on the shelf. And so giving that sort of the fonts, all of these things were taken into consideration. And so we're very happy to hear that you guys enjoy the product.
And just to add on Skylar's point, the other thing what we also looked upon was the material of the packaging. Since we had a high water activity product, we wanted to make sure that it's got a barrier to oxygen specifically, or even moisture. So we made sure that we chose a material which could provide that barriers. And also, if you saw that it was a ready to eat or just take away product, so it's an on the go concept, and having 2 cakes in that one single package was the perfect combination we could come across. However, we had a thought that how about we make a family pack where we can have like 6 of these packs in one cardboard box, and that would be another alternative to add on to as well if you want a whole family size pack as well.
Costco. Right. I think we're getting really close to time. I'll start asking the question, but you may not have a lot of time to answer it. When you mentioned this could be easily scaled up, I want to know what you think the biggest challenge about the scale up would be for this particular product.
That's a pretty interesting question. The way we made our pilot scale apparatus, we thought it's very easy to scale it up into industrial scale. But I guess first thing, our biggest challenge was to get the right molds. At that point, we did not know that the bundt cakes were already available at first test, but getting the molds in there would be a much more easier process now that it's already done. The second thing was getting the right consistency of the batter and our cream. Because if we were to make a big giant batch, we want to make sure that we have the right perfect combination in there so that it doesn't get waste, because waste would be our biggest concern in this stage. And then the second thing is how can we store these if there is any overdose or overload of these components present in there.